The following is the transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. 23rd January 2021. Education. Me. Ex duco. The first time I heard the meaning of education was in high school in Latin class, when Professor Elizabeth, a character whom we appreciated very much, said the meaning of this word is so misused in our society, and when I heard it, completely changed the vision I had of it. I am. Ex, outward, and ducere, carry something. Education is the action of bringing what is inside out. Me. The opposite of what is sold to us as an idea. Actually, when people talk about education, they always describe teaching, which is the concept of pointing out something, showing or pointing out what is outside, pointing out what is considered real or true. I am. Have you been able to live both? Me. Luckily, yes. I've had teachers who taught and teachers who educated, and I've been able to experience both. Those who taught gave us all the answers, and if we were wrong, they would get angry or make us notice that we were not paying attention. Those who educated threw a question, and together we looked for the answer, and their notes were new questions. They only affirmed the answer when one of us in the classroom had said it, and from there, they developed through oratory or experimental activities. Since I was a child, I always believed that my vocation would be veterinary medicine, since I always sought to heal animals, understand them. However, when adults or other children appeared, what I enjoyed most was explaining to them about the animals. I remember organizing days like television programs or classrooms, where I would do a series of questions and games where my neighbors learned about each animal. But the teacher did the same with other things, like writing or listening to music. Play the teacher. I am. Yes, I discovered that it was my vocation from a very young age. I remember my guides telling me, wherever you see the word education, you will find your way. And that's why I always followed the word. However, I hated school. I remember how much it bothered me to go to kindergarten. But I think what bothered me the most was the people. This always happened to me in education. I think that teachers concentrated a lot on the content and could not see that what is most difficult for us is to adapt and live together. That's why we have so many problems in adolescence and adulthood. Because the time to learn to relate in harmony, we have lost learning useless data. Throughout elementary, I enjoyed learning. I loved doing homework, keeping folders tidy, up to date, doing everything the teachers asked. When, at age 12, I began to remember my past, many of the things that were once easy for me, such as math, ceased to be and seemed impossible. I was confused between realities and stopped being the best student. At the same time, the teachers became more intense and more demanding. I went to an agro-technical college, so not only did we have normal public school subjects, but we also had field subjects. Learn to plant, harvest, farm, slaughter, raise chickens, cook. A total of 35 subjects that were spread by quarters in commissions. From 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., we were at school, and in winter we were only at home at night. I hated it, even though it was a good school with good teaching, and sometimes educated us. Many believed that educating meant having a good education, that is, behaving, knowing how to say good morning, eating well, being respectful of the elderly, even if they are wrong, not saying bad words, sitting correctly, chewing with your mouth closed. It created the idea that education was the same as indoctrination in manners, as if training dogs to sit on. I am. Well, it is not far from reality. Me. When I moved to Spain, the system was very different. We only had 9 subjects. It seemed very easy. But that was what in turn made me downplay it. Some teachers had the soul of educators, but still the system forced us to be evaluated as products. I remember that both in Argentina and in Spain, although in Spain it was more noticeable, they divided us into 3 commissions, that of the intelligent, that of the normal, and that of the fools. I am. Fools? Me. Well, I mean those who had lower performance or were more problematic. Some classes were shared, but others were divided, so the slower ones didn't slow down the smart ones. But over time I saw that this generated the opposite effect. The intelligent did not learn, but struggled to belong to that class and lived a constant stress of feeling that they were superior. The slowest worsened their performance because they were treated as those who would not contribute anything to society, so they were not required more than to make some workshop that prepares them for trades of basic needs or service. And those of us in the middle were treated as future workers of a system that had to be nurtured from the middle class. I am. Marx's class struggle. Me. Sometimes it seemed like it. The last 2 years there was an exam that defined if you were suitable to do the baccalaureate, or if it was better to take a course of preparation of a specific trade, closing opportunities, and emptying the bachelor of annoying children. And then the university, with its horrible selectivity exam, which selected people to professions by their grades and not by their interests. And in the university, many are falling without possibilities to continue, because of the costs or the themes or whatever. In short, education never educates, but teaches, separates, and promotes competition. I am. And you still chose it. Me. When it comes to awakening one's divine being, there is no other way than education. I am. Education is the human faculty of awakening its own potentials to face the world. The teaching is the accompaniment and guidance of those who have the experience so that you discover for yourself what you are capable of. Me. He who teaches shows a way, does not give the answer. It shouldn't, at least. And education seems to be something that can only be done by oneself, not another. I am. Both are integrated. Education arises from oneself, and teaching accompanies this process. As we have talked about in learning, one apprehends or learns what is outside and incorporates it as one's own, returning it to the transformed world in a unique and personal way, what is called education. Educators were fellow learners, guides, and teachers who sought to show learners ways to find the answer within. Education arises from imitation, in which animals show their young how to do things for themselves. You may think that showing something is teaching, not education, and yes, that's right. However, no one solves the problem of breeding. She must do it for herself. In this way it is that animals improve their capacities. Education crosses the animal kingdom, because their abilities are adapted by learning, by developing their own abilities. In teaching they find tools, in education they find evolution. In this development, the human as an animal was improving its skills through communication. The word began to convey knowledge in a more detailed and specific way. Mothers and fathers teach their children. The pack and the family transmit knowledge in sharing, and the guides, shamans, leaders, of whom we have already spoken, emerge as inspiration for several. Shamans become priests who will transmit universal knowledge to apprentices through the concept of paths. In different areas of the planet, cultures designed their own initiatory paths, which developed ancestral religions and cultures. The roads were divided between those who tilled the land, those who sought to understand the sky, and those in service of the group, in defense and hunting. The 3 initiations ordered the groups, like your commissions at school. Me. It was always done. I am. Because the human does not seek knowledge, he seeks practicality. Praxis is to take action, and taking into account that a human has 3 basic needs, eating, reproducing, and sleeping, you will understand that the primary intention is to cover them. The rest is separate. The priestly schools were chosen by a few because they gave wealth, but they were not practical. The other 2 were fundamental. Me. And why, then, religious power was always above all controlling education? I am. For the hierarchy. Remember, since human understood that life comes from the invisible aspects of the universe, material existence only obtains power thanks to the spiritual sacred. Therefore, they understood heaven and what was to come, and advised warriors and farmers. The leaders, then, always consulted those who understood the heavens, and it began to be considered that the power of a leader came only from the power of God, from the cosmos, the divine power. Hieros means sacred, like the hieroglyph, sacred scripture. Thus, the power of the sacred is the hierarchy. The only ones capable of bestowing divinity, of choosing the king or queen, were the priests, and without them the person would never be chosen in the eyes of God. For this reason, the initiatory paths of the spirit were untouchable, and the custom, culture, tradition was created that every social agent must have the acceptance of the divine in order to exercise his praxis. Me. I understand. I am. And so to make sure that this was so, the priests, the counselors, dedicated themselves to education, and in the quest for power, they molded education into only religious spiritual teaching, until, again, on the Greek islands of the Aegean, some decided to get out of this system, and instead of being religious, they became excellent questioners, seeking answers through eternal doubt. Me. The philosophers. I am. Lovers of wisdom. They left religious traditions to devote themselves to questioning things. In Greece, teaching ceased to be religious and passed into the hands of philosophers and soldiers. The latter were related by office, duty, were chosen to defend and serve others, and their teaching was carried out in the concept of college, of co, together, and legos, election. But the former shared their knowledge in open and public spaces called agoras or classrooms, courtyards where people went in their free time to listen to philosophers, to answer their existential questions after fulfilling their political, civic tasks. This moment of leisure and relaxation was called skole, leisure, recreation. Me. Does school mean leisure and fun? I am. Contrary to today, but logical. At that time, there were no video games, no Netflix, no internet or cafes, and the meeting point was to sit in a courtyard and talk about life. School emerges as a moment of relaxation to share. After the acceptance of the Christian religion by Emperor Constantine in the Roman Empire, based in present-day Istanbul, the school ceased to be well regarded as the cradle of non-religious free thinkers. Thus, they are prohibited, and the schools became part of the church. Teaching in the hands of religion in Latin. It will not be until the Renaissance in the 16th century that the ideas of ancient Greece and Rome begin to be brought, and with it the free thought of philosophy and schools. This gives rise to Cartesian scientific thought, to experimentation, the search for information through doubt, and no longer faith. Since colonialism, the Church imposed its collegial vision on a planetary level, adorning education in a militarized and ecclesiastical concept in the hands of the Pope, the Jesuits, and the Franciscans. But from the industrial and social revolutions of the 18th century, secular free thinkers saw the opportunity to create republics where people could relearn from doubt, returning to education, creating the schools again, but adorned with the traditional collegiate system. Me. And with the Industrial Revolution and the capitalist vision that emerged in Europe, instead of creating agoras of free people, factories of competing people were created, evaluating their knowledge in numbers and letters of product quality. I am. This is how the current school and education ends up being designed, in which you feel that you compete for an evaluation, where you no longer seek leisure and education, but you are forced to teach concepts imposed by a system. Remember that in the quest to make people free from the religious school, the fathers of the Enlightenment created the encyclopedia and compulsory secular education in order to eliminate ignorance and build a free people of spirit. But the key to education is doubt. You can't force someone to learn the answer to what they don't yet know. Me. What can we do to make education different? I am. First of all, we must remember that we are in the 21st century, not the 18th. Education, along with politics and religion, are the only systems that have not changed globally. And this happens because the three make up one. Religion gives power to political belief, and politics controls peoples through education. A free people ceases to have representative politicians, and ceases to have religion to connect to the spirit. No one in the system will want to transform education, so there are two paths. Me. Which ones? I am. From above or below? From below, it implies an educational revolution, in which the populations are the ones who demand a specific change of the whole system, only they do not know what that change is. Everyone demands better education, but they don't know what they mean. They think better evaluations, better content, greater preparation or access to education, when that is not the problem, but the essence that is not educated in liberating doubt because it is taught in the preconceived response. An educational revolution is to rethink what kind of humanity we seek to gestate, not what kind of citizens we want to produce. And from above, it is a political change, which transforms the ideology of representative power to return power to the people of direct decision-making through appropriate guidance. Me. It's a great topic to deal with that I would give a lot. I am. And we will, in due course. For education is the voice of a people, and today the word is distorted. In the time of networks, education must be networked. It is essential to rethink everything you know as education, because you have left the Holocene. You are no longer the humanity you were for 12,000 years. This is a new time, which will give a new word. The education of the new child will be different, for new children will know from birth. Me. They will remember. I am. And just so that you remember, you must learn online. Doubt is the greatest gift to the education of the self. If you are a human of certainties, you will never evolve. Me. What is the first question I must hesitate to awaken all the new education? I am. Am I?